Hello there everyone and welcome to a new review on the channel, and today we're going to be looking at a relatively new product, and that is Lost by Peter Turner and Mindhouse Production. This is, in my opinion, my favorite purchase of the year so far. It is fantastic. It spurred so much creativity, so much kind of ambition of me to go out and try these effects, even though these are things that have already been published by Peter Turner. Just the way that he's teaching them, his joy, like it just feels like such a good download. It feels like something he actually wanted to do, not something that he's on the payroll for. It just really is a fantastic download. Again, even though these methods and these tricks Peter has taught previously, just the package that you're getting here just spurred so much creativity and so much want for me to actually go and rehash these effects and actually try them out again. This is a fantastic download. I love it. It is fantastic, and I think you can already imagine the score I'm giving this already, but I will unpack, as always, everything that you get with this right after the intro. Perfect, so you decide to stick around, which means you want to learn more about Lost. So what is Lost? Lost is essentially a challenge that Louis Laval gives to Peter Turner because he is someone that apparently loses his gigging material a lot and has to go on gigs off really quick purchases and off kind of what he can do with very minimal money. So he gives Peter Turner the challenge to build with under 15 pounds an entire show with just what he can find at a pound store, at the dollar store, and at some charity type settings. He gives him all of that as a challenge, and he goes and picks up a bunch of things and he builds an entire act and an entire set of routines with those items for super cheap to show you that you can make a very good show and a very good gig with little to no money and little to no products whatsoever that magicians and mentalists use. And it's just fascinating to see how he goes through all of that, but more importantly, the effects are great. But before we get into unpacking all of the effects, I will kind of give you a quick performance of one of the effects that he does teach you. So he buys 2 books from this charity bookshop, which is what I did as well. I went to a local bookshop and I got this one for, I think it was $1.50, and this one for like $2. So I got 2 of these books as well because I actually want to perform that effect. You place them on the table and you tell the spectator to think of one of the books, go from one book to the other, jump on them, and then stop on one of the books. Let's say they stop on this book. You say, perfect. So we're going to keep this book towards you, and we're going to use this book to, let's say, find a random page. So I'll just open here, we'll flick, and we'll go over here to page 126. Can you see that? They're going to say yes. So you say, perfect. So we found a random page 126. You're going to go in that book at page 126. Now, normally the spectator does this while you're not looking. So for this, I will look, which is not very interesting, but they will go to page 126. Your back is fully turned when they do this. They're going to go on the page, and you tell them, look at the first word on the page, remember it, close the book, you turn around, and you're able to tell them the word. Then you proceed to another phase where you do it again, but this time it doesn't have to be the same book. You say, perfect, just say stop as I go through, stop right here. Take a look at the first word, but you know what? Take the book, look at the first word, but also look at a word in the middle and a word towards the bottom. Do you have it? And then you'll be able to reveal another word. And then you can take this even further. Again, it doesn't matter what book it is. You say, look, perfect, so go ahead, just go here, perfect. Can you take a look at that first word? Can you actually take a look at the first letter of the word on the page? Now, with that letter, can you actually make up a short name, a name of someone, and they're going to make up a short name, and you'll probably tell them it's Frank, and you'll be right. So you can actually, he tells you a bunch of stuff. This is just quickly me showing you some of the ideas he teaches you, but those are some of the things that you could do with the books. He gives you incredible subtleties, like what I said, like the one where you just flick through and you tell them, look at the top word, but you know what, take the book, look at a word in the middle and the bottom, and you're able to reveal the words. Is fantastic. The subtleties, the thinking behind that is great, but that is one of the pillars in the download that you're going to learn and some of the routines that you can do. But now that we've unpacked those, let's unpack even more. So the video is separated in multiple sections, and I've written a bit about all of them. So regarding the books, so the first section is books. So if you have 2 books, which he recommends, is you can do the first effect that I said, one person, you just flick randomly through the books, you show them the page number, tell them what page number we saw, then that person is going to open that and you're going to be able to tell them the first word on that page, or even the first phrase if you want. Then he's going to teach you the AAA book test by Mark Paul. He has the permission, so he's going to teach you that, and then he's going to tell you the variation of a word on top, in the middle, and bottom, and then he's also going to tell you how to use the AAA principle to also have them think of the first word on the page, but then say, you know what, actually, let's make this even more impossible. Take the first letter and think of this, and you can have them think of a word that's not even in the book, and you'll be able to reveal that. He teaches you how to do that as well, and that covers the book section. Then with cards, he's going to teach you a few effects with cards. He's going to teach you how to build a special forcing deck if you want, and how to do that. And then he's also going to teach you some psychological forcing techniques and psychological ploys that you can use with cards. Afterwards, he's going to talk about billets. He's going to teach you a very interesting name and place variation that doesn't use a name and a place. It uses a personal number and a place. So in this, he teaches you the life equation, and he teaches you how to use it in a routine, and he teaches you an incredible subtlety to make a name and place routine, or any routine that uses the principle of a name and place, which I don't think it's giving the method away, which is a one ahead. He teaches you a brilliant subtlety that is going to make everyone never doubt that that was the method, and it's brilliant. So he teaches that to you as well. Then he's going to go over the calculator. So he's going to buy a calculator, and he's going to teach you two effects. He's going to teach you how to reveal today's date in a very interesting way. And then he also teaches you kind of the classic jar prediction. So if you have a candy jar with an amount of, candies or Legos or whatever, or even how to do it impromptu with a piece of paper, he teaches you how to do those type of effects with a random calculator from the dollar store and everyone in the audience. He teaches you how to do that as well, which is fantastic. Then he's going to talk about envelopes. So he's going to teach you an envelope peek. This is the same envelope peek that he teaches in the How to Read Minds kit in the first one, but this one he teaches you how you can make it from scratch, and you can keep just making it over and over. And he also adds some subtleties that he's developed since then over that peak, and teach you, some different variations that you can do with that as well. And afterwards, the last thing that you're going to get in the jam session is he's going to talk about some cards. Again, he's going to touch on some more psychological forcing techniques that you can do. Then he's going to teach you a brilliant witch hand effect, and that in that effect, he's going to explain a bunch of subtleties, a bunch of things that you can do, and how to make a witch hand more personal. For example, he teaches you a routine where someone is thinking of a name, and you use the name that the person is thinking of to do the witch hand. So then you can reveal not only the hand, but also after that, so you say, perfect, so if I'm correct in all of those answers, you're thinking of this, and you'll be able to reveal it, which is a brilliant way of doing witch hand. And then he's also going to teach a classic phone unlock that he's been teaching and doing for years. If you've been following his work, especially early on in his early Penguin projects and at the table lectures, he teaches that in all of those, and it still works to this day. That technique still works even now. So he teaches you that, how to do it as well. So he teaches you all of that in this tutorial that spans almost 3 hours long. It's almost 3 hours. That's essentially all of the routines and effects that you get. So now that you know that, where you buy this, how much does it cost, and what do you get? You can buy this directly from Mindhouse Productions, which is Louis Laval website. It will set you back 65 pounds, which is around 90-ish Canadian, which is a hefty price, but you do get very good material here. And what you get is, as I said, an almost 3 hour download with Pete and Louis going all over this, some performances, some ideas, some tips, etc., and all of the effects that I have mentioned to you right now. So now that you know all of that, what is the difficulty of this project overall? The difficulty of this is relatively easy. None of these effects are very hard, but if it's the first time that you stumble on Peter's work, then yes, these will need practice, they will need fine-tuning, and they will need real-world performance scenarios. However, if you've been in mentalism for long, if you own a lot of Peter Turner's work, if you've known some of these principles for a long time, this just gives you a lot of really good subtleties, techniques, and ways to kind of divert the gaze of the spectator to completely another method that doesn't exist, rather than the method that you're actually using, which is great and makes all of this relatively easy. There's nothing really hard here. Probably the hardest thing to do is the psychological forcing aspect of it. If you're not very good at that, that's probably the hardest thing to do. Or of course, if you're not familiar with channeling, so having someone think of a specific word with the first letter of another word and leading them to a garden path without them kind of noticing it, then that is going to be a bit difficult as well for you. But except for that, method-wise, most of this is relatively easy, straightforward. It will just need good presentation in order for you to achieve it. Now, in terms of practicality, so what is the practicality of this? This was created to be very practical. So to do this, all you need is, let's say you're going to an actual gig and you have a small backpack, 2 books, a few billets, 1 deck of cards, and people's phones and a calculator. That's all you need. And of course, you're going to probably need some pens and a notepad. So this pack's very small. So if you're a very minimalist planner when you go to gigs, this will probably fit in a very tiny bag and you'll have place to spare. It packs very small. And what's also nice is that this is very impromptu. So, if you're going to someone's house, they will probably have books for you. They will probably have pens. They'll probably have pieces of paper for you to write your predictions. They'll probably have, their phones with them, and they'll probably have a calculator. So, all of this can also be pretty much impromptu. The only thing that is not is the envelopes, because they have a few tweaks on them, and some of the routines that he teaches you with the deck of cards. It's a special deck that he teaches you how to construct. But apart from that, most of these routines can be done impromptu on the spot with borrowed material, and you'll be good to go. So practicality-wise, they are very good routines to know. In terms of angles, most of the routines are 360. In terms of inspectability, almost all of the routines except for 2 of them, which is the deck of cards and the envelopes, can be inspected fully. In terms of table, you do not need a table for some of the effects. Some of them are better with a table, but you don't necessarily need a table for them. Most of this can be done standing up. And that is pretty much all I have to say regarding practicality. The reset as well for all of the routines is instant. So that is nice to know as well. Now, where do you perform these effects? So these effects, in my opinion, can be performed anywhere. These can be performed close up. Some of them can even be performed, on the biggest of stages, on the smallest of stages, parlor, cabaret, table hopping, restaurant, etc. These are effects that can be performed pretty much anywhere. They will work great. They will fly by, and they will fool people in pretty much any type of scenario. So now that we said all of this, what are the positives and negatives of this project? Well, the only negative about this is that pretty much every single thing that he teaches you on this is things that he's taught before on his other projects. So for example, if you already own AAA book test, you're already going to know most of his details regarding this book method on the AAA book test. If you own How to Read Minds, you already know the envelope techniques and some of the billet techniques. If you own something like Odyssey, you know some of the ways that he likes to do the witch hand and peaks, right? So a lot of this has been published before, but now you get it in a package. And I think that even though, the price is steep and those effects, I think kind of seeing him performing it in a different type of setting and a different type of mindset is very, very fun. But could be a negative. If you own all of his work, you're probably not going to find anything new here. So that is something to keep in mind. But except for that, in terms of positives, this is one of the projects where I feel, this is not a dig at whatever, but this is one of the projects where Peter is, I think, the most happy and is having the most fun. In some other projects, when you're on a payroll and you have to do it because you have to do it, sometimes you're just explaining things to have to explain it and to get it over with. But here, he's having really good conversations with Louis. You see that they're really good friends. So the tutorial is fantastic. It's just such a good watch, a pleasant watch. Both of them share so many good ideas, and you can see they enjoy this. They enjoy this challenge, and it was a very fun thing, I think, for Peter to do as well. He's constantly smiling, having fun, teaching you, giving you subtleties and so many tidbits of information. That, to me, brings it high, like really high. When you see someone this involved and this happy to do something, it just shows you that what they're sharing is something that they love. The material is great. As I said, you can build this entire show for under $20 US or 20 Canadian. You can build this entire thing super cheap, on the fly. This is material that you can also do borrowed. Once you know these principles, they're going to be principles that you know for the rest of your life that you can apply at a moment's notice, as I said, with borrowed books and on the fly. They're relatively easy to do, angle proof, they're practical, they can be performed pretty much anywhere. It's fantastic. These routines are just great. The project is great. So if I recommend it, Do I recommend it? My answer is yes. I fully recommend this. I think it's fantastic. I think the only thing is it is a bit pricey in Canadian. It's almost $100 for material that you already know, but I did enjoy every single minute of it, and it is material that I'm now going to use, and it just spurred my creativity even further to actually try and build something with this and revisit some of these effects that I've known that he does, but I've never really I've kind of given up on and looked at other methods. It's made me want to re-go and retry them. It's fantastic. I heavily recommend it if you're a mentalist. If you want, you can even wait for one of the Mind House sales that could be coming soon if you want to pick it up at a bit of a discount, but I still heavily recommend it. I'm giving Lost by Peter Turner a 10. It is fantastic. I cannot recommend it enough. Even though, as I said, it is rehashed material, just the way it's presented, the way it's filmed, the way they're having their talks around all of this is just fantastic. I heavily recommend it. It's getting top marks from me. That's all I have to say about Lost. If you have any additional questions, leave them down below. If not, I'll see you all in my next review. Have a good one, and bye-bye.